Everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is the Wayne to my Garth. The
Party
Garth to my
on,
Wayne.
dude. Party on, dude.
Party on. I am Josh, and that guy
I'm
over there
Chris.
is he's the
I'm
Chris. He
actually
didn't
not
say that.
Garth. I'm Chris, not Garth.
Oh, can I be? Anyways, how you doing tonight, Chris? We're
I'm doing.
recording episode 1 of 2 here tonight, so strap yourself in and let's try and not get
I knew you were going to go there.
too punchy,
Too crunchy?
punchy.
Punchy. Yes. No. I'm doing great. Despite my technical difficulties earlier in the evening. Folks, let me know at home how things sound. Apparently, I do have some stuff going on with the mic, but Josh can hear me now, so that's good. I can hear one of me and one of Josh. But I'm doing great. I'm excited about these shows that we've got kind of to exit the off season, regular season. Player personnel stuff, dynasty stuff. I'm always excited about that.
It's pretty much all dynasty. I mean, you can take some redraft out of this, but
I think you
not
can
a
always
lot.
take something out of any player analysis. Absolutely, in terms of
Okay.
applying it to fantasy. How
Yep,
are you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. But we're here to talk about some potential. Last week we talked about the running backs, probably the most hyped and quote important position in fantasy football, at least the most sought after.
Especially in dynasty.
But here this week we're going to talk about wide receivers, and next week we're going to talk about some tight ends. But let's start off with some. I've identified a few teams that absolutely need the wide receivers, and some other teams that could really use the help. So let's start with the Raiders here. The Raiders they really need a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Their best one is Hunter Renfrow. Well, he was good down the stretch last year, but they really need an alpha dog there. Same with the Jets. The Jets they're probably their best wide receiver right now is Elijah Moore.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's probably Elijah Moore, and then a close second is probably Corey Davis. Jamison Crowder is set to hit free agency, so I didn't include him in that one. The Packers as well. They're probably their best wide receiver currently under contract is Allen Lazard. MVS, that is Marcus Valdez-Scantling, Devontae Adams, and Equanimeous St. Brown are all pending free agents. So the cupboard's running a little bare there in Green Bay, which obviously is hindering. They're really hindering, or they're pinning their hopes on Rodgers coming back, or not, or potentially trading him away or whatever. But yeah, they're going to wait for Rodgers, and that's going to be the domino that knocks everything into place. The Colts, I put the Colts on here. Maybe they deserve to be in the next section, but I mean, the best wide receiver is Michael Pittman. Yeah, he was a top 24 wide receiver for fantasy, but I mean, maybe Pittman's good, but I don't think he's elite. And I don't know. That whole Colts situation is dicey. Do they bring back Wentz? Do they make him the martyr for the 2021 season? Do they start fresh with someone new? I think they're bringing Wentz back. I really think they are. I think the only way they don't bring Wentz back is because Jim Irsay is just like, well, we got to pin the blame on someone, and it's going to be Wentz.
Well, they also do not have a first-round pick because of how much and how well he played, right?
And Wentz's contract is not.
It's very reasonable for a starting quarterback in the NFL.
You can eat, but it's not going to taste good.
You don't want to eat that and a first-round pick. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Cleveland Browns and the Patriots. Best or the last two teams here. And this is we're all going somewhere with this, so just bear with us, folks. The Browns, their best wide receiver is probably Jarvis Landry at the moment. They got rid of Odell Beckham. Jarvis Landry, I mean, he wasn't really all that young. Like the Browns in general were just kind of hindered by Baker Mayfield playing through the season like in a body cast. So, I mean, and Jarvis Landry was injured at times too. The Browns really need an alpha wide receiver in like the worst way, but they do have some weapons. I don't think Jarvis Landry is one of them, and we'll talk about one of them here in a little bit. Patriots, probably their best weapon is, I guess, Jacoby Myers. I guess.
Yes.
Maybe Hunter Henry. He's their best. He's their best weapon in the red zone. Those are teams that really need a wide receiver. Um, the Chicago Bears, they could definitely get Darnell Mooney some help.
Yeah.
Mooney was good last year. He had over 1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns, but they like. I think Mooney needs someone to take a little bit of pressure off of him too. The Arizona Cardinals could really go for another wide receiver opposite DeAndre Hopkins. Christian Kirk is supposed to be like a restricted free agent, and no one really cares about AJ Green, so whatever. The Houston Texans, they could also use a good wide receiver to go along with Brandon Cooks. We'll talk a little bit more about the Texans tight end maybe next week. Maybe. But yeah, overall, there's probably some teams I missed. This is by no means a definitive list of, teams that really need wide receiver help. But those are just kind of some team names to put into your head when you're talking about some of these potential free agents like your Allen Robinsons or Jamison Crowders. Odell Beckham, yeah, I know he got injured in the Super Bowl, so he's going to miss probably at least half the year next year. Cedric Wilson, your Michael Gallups, your Chris Godwins. We're not going to talk about all those guys, but just those are wide receivers that are big name pending free agents, that I can just rattle off the top of my head. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You got any other names to mention there, Chris? I don't.
Free agent wise, nothing comes to mind. I just think Godwin probably tops the class. I mean, as you said,
for sure.
I mean, Odell Beckham's. God, he might have been on his way to Super Bowl MVP, but we'll never know. Just like you said, he'll be out most of the year because the timing of which I believe it was ACL happened.
It was
so
ACL.
That makes Godwin the clear leader. I think nobody else comes to mind in terms of big names. So no.
Michael Gallup is probably my number 2 there, but.
Depending on what you think about Gallup, I mean, some could put him on Godwin's level. I'm not going to do that, but
I'm not either.
So yeah, but no.
I mean,
he's going to be. I mean,
his last 2 years have been when Dallas went healthy has been pretty good. So,
well, he didn't. I think his injury was kind of ill-timed. Also, he was.
Well, we made the joke about Jerry Jones's bodyguard coming out and whacking Gallup in the knee to
Gallup's going to get a disc.
Tanya Harding style.
Gallup is going to come at a discount because he was the third fiddle, so his numbers aren't what Godwin's were.
Gallup's probably going to take a 1-year prove it deal. I'll almost guarantee it. And Will Fuller. Will Fuller is a.
I was just going to say that didn't work.
Too.
That didn't work out for Fuller very well. But
I don't know if he really wanted to go to Miami to play. Anyways, I think it was just more of they're offering me $10 million, so okay. And then he had an excuse not to play, so he's like, okay. Let's get on with my list here. And I'll take your temperature on all these names here, too. Once again, I'm deferring to Chris as the veteran dynasty player, even though he doesn't have a championship and Josh does. That one was trolling you.
Awful.
But yeah, you're the veteran dynasty player. I'm just I just won it in my rookie season. That's just rubbing it in a little bit more. You just tell me when that salt gets too deep in that wound, and I'll back off.
I will say this.
Okay,
so.
I'm sorry.
Sadist, right? Sadist is yourself, right? Yeah.
The first guy on my list is actually 2. Because it's my list, I can cheat and use 2 guys, but they're from the same team. Neither one of them are free agents. I don't believe. I did double check a lot of these, so if I am wrong, well, maybe time got short and today got long, and whatever. But the first 2 guys on my list are Jalen Guyton / Josh Palmer. Los Angeles Chargers wide receivers. If you're not familiar with the names, Palmer was a rookie this year. Guyton is entering his 4th year, I believe. I'm saying the one that you should target. You should target both of these guys, but not like to get both of them on your team. I think actually Palmer's going to be probably the cheaper one.
And the younger one.
Definitely the younger one. Guyton's been around for a few years and hasn't really done much in his tenure with the Chargers, but he's also had Keenan Allen and Mike Williams ahead of him in the pecking order as well. So the fact that he couldn't surpass Mike Williams, who I really don't think is a very special player. I know that Williams had a decent, not a decent, but an elite level start to the season and then fell off the cliff like he always does.
Like he always does, yep.
This is why I'm not into Mike Williams. I'm sorry, but like this fact that he couldn't sustain it for the entire year shows to me that he isn't really that special a player. Prove me wrong, Mike Williams. Seriously,
it
man.
shows
Like
generally that you were right. Yeah,
I was starting to buy
I have
into
to
it,
agree
and then
with
all of a
you.
sudden,
I have to, yeah,
he just
that's
he
more or less
like
what I was going to say.
he like faded into the back into the cornfield like
so weird.
oh, what is that actor's name in Field of
Kevin
Dreams?
Costner.
No,
Kevin Costner.
Ray Liotta.
Ray Liotta. Oh,
Ray
man.
Liotta. He just kind of like backed off into the cornfield, and that's what Mike Williams did. You know, like it was just, yeah, I don't know, and maybe Mike Williams was just underutilized, but I don't think he is. I don't think so. I think he's just overrated. So, and Mike Williams is becoming an unrestricted free agent after, like in this offseason.
Yeah.
Do the Chargers bring him back? I think that they drafted Josh Palmer with the idea that Mike Williams is going to be gone. You know, they like what they saw from Jalen Guyton, not this past season, but the season before in 2020, and he kind of flashed a little bit. He kind of flashed a little bit this year too. You know, like when Keenan Allen was out with COVID, and I think Mike Williams missed a game or two with COVID as well.
I think they knew they had a relatively cheap receiver for another couple years because he was still on his rookie deal, being Mike Williams, that is, and they were like, we're not going to pay this guy. Doesn't mean we can't use him. Doesn't mean he can't be our 2. But we need to look elsewhere for a 3. Guyton, I think people got like Guyton's body, his athleticism, his physicality, but I think Palmer's your, I guess, eventual solution here, probably this year, according to Mike Williams being a free agent.
Yeah. So Guyton, like I said, he hasn't really done. I'm sorry, it is his 4th year because I have in my notes here that in his first 2 seasons he hasn't really done much. Do you think you can get Jalen Guyton for a 4th?
Probably.
Okay, or if you could like kind of throw him as a pack in a trade with another player, just a bigger deal. But then you're just like, well, what about throwing like like a running back from that we talked about last week or something?
Did you say he's
like maybe you're trying to trade for Kareem Hunt and you're like, well, what if you threw in like you need a little bit extra to kind of like get the deal done, and you're like, well, what about Jalen Guyton?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah,
and
he's that type.
Before we continue, A, we're going half PPR scoring here, and B, none of these names are. There's one pretty big name, but on my list, but none of them are going to be like necessarily every single week starters, but they could be, or at least some good bye-week fill-ins. And you need bye-week fill-ins for your dynasty squad. Sure. Like you're normally not going to be able to scrape your waiver wire for a bye-week fill-in. So. That's what this show is about. Or at bare minimum, some guys to keep to keep in the back of your brain for like an early or mid-season trade.
Yep.
Say the Chargers bring back Mike Williams, but all of a sudden he gets hurt and misses a few games. Boom. Like you're potentially buying a win by trading for a Josh Palmer or Jalen Guyton. On to Josh Palmer real quick. I personally me, I drafted him in the 3rd round of our rookie dynasty draft last year.
Well, you did.
I feel like, and he didn't really do much. So I bet you could try it. I bet you could easily get a 3rd round, get him for a 3rd rounder this year, or maybe even a 4th too. Maybe there's a guy like me who's just set at wide receiver, and someone comes along and they're like, hey, what if I give you a 4th for this guy? And you're like, and they don't remember where they drafted him. Like, this sounds about right. That's about where I drafted him last year.
This is worth mentioning too, while I'm thinking about the Palmer deal you just mentioned. A lot of these deals completely change context when you're literally in the draft. Considering most dynasty folks do a long draft. So when you're on the clock and you're a team of like yourself who just won the championship, or a top 3 or a top 5 team, and you're like, I really don't like any of these guys. You might fall back. You might take less for a Palmer. Like, yeah, I'll just, I can't use them type of thing, like you said, take the, not like you said, like I said, take the manager's temperature or how he feels about a guy like Palmer, who's just kind of sitting there on the bottom of his roster. You keep that stuff churning usually, but no, I think a 3rd. I think a 3rd's more fair from both angles. But go ahead.
The next guy on my list is Tim Patrick. Sorry, I'm trying to find him here, and
You're good.
There he is. He was wide receiver 40 this past season, and that was some really real crap. I'm just going to go ahead and say it.
Awful quarterback play.
It was some real crap quarterback play.
Mm-hmm.
But he did hit double digits. Was it that like 5, 6, 7, 8 times and missed a game in there too. Here's the thing about Tim Patrick. The Broncos are gonna upgrade at quarterback. They know what they have with Drew Lock. Drew Lock is not their future. They're probably gonna go after a veteran, whether it's a Jameis Winston or I know Aaron Rodgers is a very popular name floating around with
Denver. Yep.
With Denver, Aaron Rodgers getting traded to Denver and everything, and I know Tim Patrick's like third or fourth man on the pecking order in Denver, but they're also talking about like, and this is whispering from the bushes, but they're talking about like maybe trading away Cortland Sutton, who they just gave an extension to, as part of acquiring a new quarterback. Whether it's like a Carson Wentz or your. I'm not saying it's going to be Carson Wentz, but Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson or
whoever, yeah.
like all that BS that people are like, oh, like what about this and speculation and everything. But Tim Patrick, man, like he's been okay for fantasy. Like at one point Jerry Jeudy missed like half the season last year, and that's when Tim Patrick really like scored most of his points, most of his double-digit points. Yeah, none of them were really above. He only got above 13 fantasy points once the entire year. Once again, half PPR scoring. And also, according to Fantasy Pros too, we like to use that site because it's just kind of every league's different. So why not use Fantasy Pros as kind of a continuity, in scoring, right?
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, Tim Patrick, man, like, what do you think you can get Tim Patrick for off of someone? He's probably their wide receiver 5 on their dynasty squad.
I think
what?
Similar, like a 4th round, kind of like Guyton. I don't think.
I would want Tim Patrick. I would want Patrick over Guyton.
Me too.
But probably not Patrick over Palmer.
I just don't think there's
Palmer's
a ton
the younger
of Patrick
guy out of
fans
those
out
3.
there. I just don't think there's I don't think there's a ton of Patrick fans out there. So I think the Patrick manager might let him go for a 4th, maybe in draft.
Really?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I will say this. What they're saying about Sutton and perhaps putting him on the block in a QB upgrade trade, I think speaks about how they feel about Jeudy and Tim Patrick. I think.
What is it? KJ Hamler behind him too?
That's a good point too. Yeah, didn't he get hurt? Was that this year?
Yeah, he also had
I was just going to say, I think they're a little deeper than folks remember because of all these darn injuries. So to understand that they're obviously going to upgrade the most important position of quarterback, I think they're willing to let a guy like Sutton go because he's more sexy.
And they also have Noah Fant as well. So it's
that's a good target. Yeah, could be a good target. So I think Sutton is more the alpha, the sexier trade piece. Yes, it comes with the number 2 with the contract, but he's the more the guy that fits that number 1 wide receiver role, and teams might be willing to pay up for that. So I like that, and I think it speaks about Patrick well enough to be like, yeah. I mean, maybe the manager does want a 3rd, but I don't know. I would hold out for a 4th. If I
would do 4th, and I don't know if I'd go higher than a 4th. I mean,
that's
like
what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Maybe if you're wide receiver desperate and you're just like, well, maybe go to a 3rd, but I wouldn't go much higher than and that would be like maybe like a mid to late 3rd.
If I'm wide receiver desperate and I'm willing to spend a 3rd or more, I'm not looking at Patrick anymore. I'm looking at
I think so. I think I'm
like Palmer.
Let's skip my biggest name and move on to probably my second biggest name, and that's Jamison Crowder. Like I said at the top of the show, unrestricted free agent. When he's been healthy, he's been good for the Jets. He's been kind of like a vacuum cleaner at the wide receiver position, or like a Spider-Man. He's got the sticky fingers, where that makes him sound like a thief. You know what I'm saying? Like the ball comes close to him, he's gonna catch it, and he's not gonna do a lot after the catch, but he'll get the yardage that you give him. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And the team that I actually have him like where maybe he could be the most useful is like the Texans. You got Brandon Cooks on the outside. What about Jamison Crowder on the inside? Now, quarterback's obviously a little bit of a question mark there. I'm wondering because
But
it's not the best quarterback class. I'm wondering if the Texans are going to maybe just roll with Davis Mills, maybe bring in a Jameis Winston-esque guy to kind of push the envelope a little bit, just in case Davis Mills is just kind of just a guy sort of guy. The Colts aren't going to trade Wentz to the Texans anyway, so that's probably the cheapest guy out there. I've seen rumors of maybe Baker getting traded to the Saints or the Texans, blah, blah, blah. I don't think the Browns are going to get rid of not this year. The Browns ain't getting rid of Baker. Not this year.
no, okay.
Um,
I like that. I'm on the Davis Mills train. I think they go with him just because of what's in the draft, and just I think a guy. I think a
I think
Crowder.
what's in the draft is more Davis Mills.
I think Crowder is. I think Crowder is a lot like Cooks. Obviously, not on the field in the way they play football, but in the way that they're veterans, in the way that they're maybe to the point in their career where they're like, okay, yeah, sure, I'd love to win a ring, but I'd also like to make a decent paycheck and get a lot of balls thrown to me. And there'd be a ton of balls to go around, even with Cooks in town in Houston. And if they like what Davis Mills is doing in this, off season, then maybe they throw the ball around a little bit more. They don't have anybody to speak of at running back really. So no, I like a vet like Crowder to man the slot for a team like the Texans. I mean,
and
Crowder's not winning with the Jets either, so there's that.
Yeah, and here's the thing though, is that like Jameson Crowder is really one of the most unsung.
Oh, I think there was a point in
one of the greatest unsung slot wide receivers.
I think there was a point in the last 5 years where he was probably a top 3 slot receiver in the league, easily, if not arguably the best.
His problem though, if you look at his stats though, his problem is health.
Yeah. He could be.
The stats are eye popping whatsoever, and on per game, or like as a whole too, they're really not all that sexy because I don't think he's like a super special guy. Like I don't think he's a Wes Welker. Let's put it that way. Or,
I was going to say he could be a little more tough, like a Edelman. I almost said Eckler. Edelman, who I was thinking of when you said injury.
I don't even think he's an Edelman because Edelman was doing some stuff after the catch, whereas Jameson Crowder ain't doing that.
No, I mean in terms of he could use some of Edelman's toughness. Speaking of top 3 slot receivers.
Oh, okay. I got you. All right. Here's my favorite name on the list. Well, my second favorite name on the list. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
That's the Browns guy, right?
It's the Browns guy. He was he's a big guy. Let me pull up his stats here real quick while I do that.
But also
why don't you?
He's got the speed.
Chris, why don't you tell us how what the Constitution means to you nowadays? That since we've are potentially going to war and everything.
I've got a 9-foot pole over there. If you want me to touch it, no, I'm just kidding.
But it's not a 10-foot. I mean, I keep my 10-foot pole at okay. I'm sorry.
10? Do you say 9? Why did
10.
I say 9? I say 9 apparently.
It must be some weird Texan thing.
Anyway, I support Ukraine. Obviously,
he's a 6'2" guy. He's got some speed and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
It struggles to get separation, but still, like he's not the next Megatron by any stretch of the imagination. But he was a top prospect coming out of college or while in college. But he had some like I said, he was struggling to get some separation on the field from defenders, but he also had some knuckleheadedness to go along with it. He was butting head with what is it? Which Harbaugh is that? Is that Jim Harbaugh up in Michigan?
Jim, yes, is in Michigan.
Yeah. He was butting heads with Jim Harbaugh a little bit, and I guess their offensive coordinator. So he really it really drove down his draft stock. But he's had flashes with the Browns, at least in his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. He got a little more playing time last year. It was obviously after Odell Beckham, left the Browns. But it was like I said earlier, Baker Mayfield was playing quarterback position in a body cast. So, like what could have been with Donovan Peoples-Jones. Baker Mayfield, obviously, he's not on the arm level strength. Or doesn't have the arm strength as like Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, but the guy can push the ball down the field. He can. He needs a little bit of a wind up, but so does Tom Brady. I was just going to say, and he makes it happen.
He needs a little bit more of a platform and a wind up. Yeah, Brady makes it
happen.
But he can pretty good offensive line too.
Exactly. So, anyways, I like that DPJ. I think he's one of the reasons why the Browns let Odell Beckham go. for one of the many reasons why they let him go.
Yeah.
But he's DPJ. He did put. Sorry, I actually put this in my notes too. He did post a 4.48 time in his combine, which not
That's
the
6'2".
Fastest.
That's 6'2" though. That's
At
not
6'2", and he's
yeah,
got
that's
some
pretty good.
jumps to him as well. I mean, and he did have a 24 fantasy point game last year too.
Mhm.
And 4 other games with at least 70 receiving yards.
Yeah.
So potential for Donovan Peoples-Jones or DPJ as they're calling him.
Yeah. I think he's your. Speaking of cheap, I think he's your cheap guy. I think you can get him for a song. You know what I mean? Like I think.
Really?
Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure. I think. I'm not saying I don't believe in him. I'm not as high on it as you, but I think it's kind of I don't say glory play. Is that the term I'm looking for? Where it's like
I mean, I think
this is a guy I believe given the opportunity. I mean, that's what you're banking on, given the opportunity, right? That's
he has the opportunity.
yeah.
He's
Fourth
got
rounder, yeah. I mean, maybe a third for somebody who's in love with him, but I don't think I'd spend up for
I'm
that.
not going a third, but I'll go
Exactly.
a fourth and a throwaway player too. Like
Yeah.
oh man, I don't know.
Another receiver, just turning the bottom of your receiver roster, basically, or whatever.
Would you trade Nico Collins from the Texans? He was a rookie last year,
I know
and
he
a
is, yeah.
fourth for Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Kind of like Nico Collins because of his
Yeah,
size.
I was gonna say that seems a little rich.
I kind of like the size and a bit
Okay,
younger.
what if you
younger.
had Jalen Guyton and a fourth for Donovan Peoples-Jones? Maybe Jalen Guyton.
It'd be nice to know. I'm sorry, is Guyton staying put in terms of contract? Oh man, yeah, maybe I like Guyton. Maybe I like Guyton enough to be the third guy for the Chargers, and we love Herbert. We love Herbie. I mean, that offense. People like Guyton's athleticism. That's cutting it close. I would probably still err on the side of the big guy we were talking about, Nico Collins. But anyway.
Oh snap! Jalen Guyton is a restricted free agent. My bad. My bad. Oops. Missed
to that point,
one.
Josh.
A restricted free agent, though.
To that point, Josh, keep your eye on what happens with that restricted free agency. They can match it, etc. See what kind of tender they put on him. That'll tell you.
I bet they'd slap like a third or a fourth rounder on him.
And that'll tell you what you need to do in Dynasty, basically.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of these names, and we're doing this now because a lot of these names is like.
Some of this you have to act now to get cheap,
Well, like with Jamison Crowder and our last guy, which we'll get to in just a second, and some of these other guys that we already named off that are unrestricted free agents here, Chris Godwin's and whatever, is potentially get him now on the cheap before you get their destination, which granted could tank their value, but also could skyrocket it too. What if Chris Godwin goes to the Packers and Aaron Rodgers is still there? Like that's not going to happen. They're in salary cap hell. But something like that, or Chris Godwin goes to the Chargers instead of the Chargers keeping Mike Williams. He goes to the Chargers.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Moving parts, where they're going, whether they are or not a free agent. Their QB could be a free agent. Their QB position could be in flux. There's a lot of moving parts yet to be played out. And yes, sometimes you want to wait so you don't overspend, but sometimes you want to strike while the iron's hot and get a deal.
Yeah, exactly. Last guy on our list. Let's go to last guy on my list, and then we'll go with some honorable mentions here.
Yeah,
Allen Robinson. I mean, everyone who listens to the show knows I love Allen Robinson.
Yeah, you kind of buried it at the beginning of the show when you mentioned Mr. Mooney needs help. I was like, he's not wrong though. He's not wrong, folks. Continue.
Allen Robinson is an unrestricted free agent, and much like most of his stint with the Bears in 2021, or 2021 was a wash for A-Rob here. Allen Robinson is a great receiver. He is. Maybe not elite, but he's a great receiver. Like an older Chris Godwin, if you will. And a Chris Godwin with some, grizzled experience, What I am encouraging everyone to do is go to the Allen Robinson manager in your Dynasty League and kick the tires. I said that a lot last week. I'm saying it again this week. Kick the tires with Allen Robinson, the Allen Robinson manager.
Apparently, I like taking temperatures more than I like kicking tires. Continue.
Yeah, you like to take temperatures.
I don't know why.
I like to kick the
Am I a
tires.
nurse and you're a mechanic? I feel so unmasculine now. That was
Yeah,
rude. No, I'm
there's plenty
sorry.
of male nurses
Plenty
out
of
there,
awesome
Chris.
masculine
There's
male
plenty.
nurses.
There's
I'm
plenty of
sorry.
male nurses out there. Trust me. I work in
I
a
was trying to
hospital.
make a joke. I'm sorry.
Plenty of male
it,
nurses.
it failed.
Well, I'm trying to save you from
Cheers.
backlash. Um, so here's what I'm thinking for Allen Robinson: is a second rounder too much? And by a second rounder, I mean top half of the second round. Is that too much? Too much?
Yeah, probably top half is too much. Yeah, but I don't hate it
What about a top half of the third round, or is it somewhere in between?
if I'm in a position where he's moved to a team. I like the quarterback. I like a situation, generally speaking.
No, no, no. I'm talking right now. Like as of tomorrow, the end of February, before
right,
the new NFL season starts.
Who?
Because I think Allen Robinson's at that point in his career, he's gotten his money from the Bears. He's gotten his payday. I think he's going to go to some team where he believes he has a chance of winning a ring.
I'd have to be a believer in his eventual destination at this point in the season, and obviously his talent, and be a team that's in a win now mode. Therefore, a late second, of course, because again, win now, I'm a good team, etc. I might do that as a Robinson. I'm sorry, as the person who's getting Robinson in the trade. I might do that as a team that's just like, you know what? What else am I going to get for this late second? I see, you know. By that time, you would know where he's at. Because free agency is before the draft. But yeah, I don't hate that. But I mean, duh, I'd much rather do it for a third because it was really bad last year, and it's been. And
here's the thing. Here's the thing about Allen Robinson, though, that maybe you've forgotten, is that in 2019 and 2020, he had an 1,100 yard season and a 1,200 yard season with the Bears, respectively, of course. And then he also had a 1,400 yard, 14 touchdown season in his sophomore year
with
Jacksonville, which I believe was Blake Bortles his quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Robinson is turning 29, so maybe you could use that as an advantage to drive the price tag down. Like, well, he is getting a little up there in age, which is 29 is actually kind of like prime. You're at the tail end of your quote prime physical condition.
I think it's a perfect example of every manager is different, every trade is different. Meaning, I would not blame a long-term Robinson dynasty manager being frustrated. And third. Yeah, he might do that for third. Again, kick the tires, take the temperature of the tires.
What about a third and a fourth and spread it out over 2 years? So be like, hey, I'll give you a third this year, and I'll give you a fourth next year.
Take the tire pressure of the patient and take the temperature of the tire. Next. Seriously, I might do it for a third.
Okay. So if you're the Allen Robinson manager right now, would you do it for a third? I'll say the 301.
Maybe, yeah. I have the luxury of saying that I'm not, but maybe, yeah.
What if I gave you
if I can get
Kareem
a starter
Hunt what if I gave you Kareem Hunt in a fourth?
Yeah, I'd probably do that.
I think that's pretty good. I like Kareem Hunt as a good
running backs are hard to come by, and this guy plays.
Right, but I mean, Kareem Hunt's a pretty middling running back too. Like he's not.
I also think he had a down year. I think that team is still dedicated to the run. I think they're still dedicated.
That's great. But he also had his chance when Nick Chubb missed time in 2020 as well, and didn't really capitalize on it either then too. So
I'm not saying
Kareem Hunt is,
but I think he was hurt also whilst playing. I think the whole team
we're not talking about Kareem Hunt here. Let's do some honorable mentions here real quick. And
second round of agreement. No, I'm just kidding.
My honorable mention here is Kareem Hunt. He's a wide receiver.
Apparently he changed position. No.
My other honorable mention here is Cordero Patterson, because in Yahoo or in what is it, MFL, my fantasy leagues, he's listed as a wide receiver, which is BS.
Yeah,
that is not a real honorable mention. I'm just throwing it.
No, it's not. No. Let's not get down that path. I don't want to talk about Patterson right now because that'll be a subject for another day.
Hopefully not. Let's start at the bottom and go to the top, and it's not in any order, so it doesn't matter. It's just how they're listed. Cedric Wilson, wide receiver, Dallas Cowboy wide receiver. I initially had Michael Gallup on here, but I figured he'd be too expensive for this. Like we're talking like basement dweller, like bargain basement guys.
I know we're speculating, but what if he goes to the Jags?
Cedric Wilson.
Yeah, no, Gallup. Is he their best receiver?
But I'm talking. But the
No.
point of this exercise is to get people now, not where they. End
Okay,
up going.
continue. Fine.
Cedric Wilson. I like it. I like him. I think he's done enough. Like, yeah, Dak was maybe doing the heavy lifting in that relationship there. Dak's I know you're a Cowboys fan and you love Dak, and I also am a Dak Prescott enthusiast. That statement sounds weird now that I've said it, but anyways,
like I don't know his name, but I like him.
No, I said his name, Dak Prescott.
Okay. Anyway. Oh, you mean you may or may not be an enthusiast? Okay, continue your statement.
I am an enthusiast. I said his name. What?
It gets going.
Anyways, Cedric Wilson, honorable mention. Corey Davis, New York Jets wide receiver. He's still with the New York Jets too, but if anyone remembers, he played like one game and then got injured. I don't think it was an ACL. I think it was just like an injury, and he just had a hard time coming back from it. Maybe it was like a hamstring or something. I'm not going to look it up either because I don't care that much. But Corey Davis, he had a good 2020 season with the Titans, and maybe that was his like, I'm about to hit free agency. Yeah. I'm going to play really well this year, and just so I can get a big payday, sort of thing.
I got 3 kids, 6 cars, and 2 wives. I need to make some money. I'm sorry, that was wrong. He's not that kind of guy.
He's not.
He's probably a nice guy. I was just saying. I should have stopped before the wives. I should have stopped before the wives.
Yeah, I was going to say he's not
6 cars, 3 kids.
Families.
6 cars, 3 kids, man. 2 mortgages. That's what I should have said. Dang it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm off my game. I'm sorry.
And a mortgage isn't a wife. And I'm
just
also
saying,
not your wife.
For the sake of the joke, it would have been much cleaner and nicer to been like 2 mortgages because he's rich and he needs another contract. That's all I'm saying. Edit this all out. Do what you will. I don't care. Anyway.
Next on the list for honorable mentions is Robert Woods. He, of course,
I like that
very conveniently got injured right after the Rams traded or signed Odell Beckham. And we'll call that a segue because the next guy on the list is Odell Beckham. Problem with Odell Beckham, and maybe you can get him super cheap, is because, it's always an injury with this guy, right?
Technically, yeah. It's a shame because this year, being a detractor of his, I was being proven wrong. He was on a good team.
He wasn't very good with the Browns because Baker Mayfield once again playing in a body cast.
I know, but I also was laying a lot of that blame on Beckham Jr. I was.
He got signed by the Rams. Mm-hmm. I'm just rehashing this a little bit. And at first you're like, man, that sucks as an Odell Beckham manager. Like he's gonna be like somewhere between like
4th.
Yeah, or if you're a Cooper Kupp guy too, you're like, man, that's got to take away from Cooper Kupp.
Right.
Apparently, it didn't. But then Robert
Super
Woods
Bowl
got
MVP,
injured.
Cooper Kupp, right? Didn't he win it? Yeah, he won it. Yeah, he's Super Bowl MVP.
Was he?
Yep, he won it. Yep, I'm sticking to my guns. I know that for fact.
Okay.
Anyway, those are 2 great names to talk about.
He's probably gonna, he got if no one was watching the Super Bowl, he tore his ACL. About halfway, right before halftime, actually, somewhere around halftime.
He had already scored a touchdown and got a few catches.
He's about a third away into the game. Odell Beckham Jr. tore his ACL. It looked bad. At the second it happened, you're like, "That's an ACL." And
Kupp still won Super Bowl MVP. That's ridiculous. You think all the coverage?
How
would
good
have been
he was.
Exactly.
How good he is
all year. And exactly how good he is. But no, I would like very much to talk about Robert Woods real quickly and also Beckham Jr. in the same breath. Although you pretty much addressed Beckham Jr. I think you can get him for a song. I think you stash him if you can massage your IR.
And ODB, he's probably not going to be signed in free agency.
You can also put him on your IR.
Second round. He's probably going to get signed maybe after the draft.
Yeah, I think he gets healthy at the right time of year for a playoff contending fantasy dynasty team. You know what I mean? Like I could see like the Seahawks
or
Now, because it's a dynasty and because you have, I think maybe you probably have to pay a third. You think?
I don't know.
And would you?
It's so hard to tell.
Now, how about Woods? Okay, I have no idea who the quarterback will be in New Orleans, but how about Woods to New Orleans?
He's not a free agent.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Odell Beckham is.
My bad. Oh, that's a tough one.
Wood signed an extension midway through 2020, I believe.
Well, then I'm not sure how cheap he'll be. You just have to pay recency bias, just injury. Like, can I use this guy? No.
Dude,
in that case, I think if you can get him for a third, you do it. But I don't.
If there's blood in the water, man, I'm gonna go after. I'm not gonna go after the bleeder.
That blood in the water is a third. You think for Woods, right? You're gonna do that as the person who's receiving.
I'd probably give up a second actually for him.
Okay, that's what I was pushing about. I'm kind of there too. I like the player. I really do. I like the offense.
I mean, dude, I did a whole YouTube video on him. I watched all his game film from 2020. I clearly cursed every single person that I did a YouTube video on from 2020 because none of them made it through the entire season.
As far as I know, Stafford's back. So
yeah, I don't think Stafford's going anywhere. I think he's trying to.
Yeah. So.
Second minimum, Stafford just wants to keep playing football, but I think maybe he's trying to cement the fact that he's like,
But I think Woods is more than a couple of. I think you're getting much more than a couple of starts out of Woods. Let's be clear. I think you're probably plugging in Woods as your third or fourth guy.
Maybe even your second.
Yeah, no, I hesitated. I hesitated to say that because I didn't want to speculate.
Probably your wide receiver 3, but
Yeah. Let's see if he's 100% and the Rams keep him. I mean, I know he's under contract, but the Rams make a lot of moves, man. But I assume he's going to be there.
They're making a lot of moves, and eventually they're going to be in salary cap hell. And
was he your last guy? I'll say
that is it.
Last one, real quick, 2.5 seconds on or whatever. Less on the cheap side, which is why I saved him for the end. DJ Moore. You might have some managers for DJ Moore that are really concerned about the quarterback situation and lack of. Production.
Hey, kick the tires, man. See what's going on.
Kick the temperature.
Put your finger on that pulse.
Okay. You said finger. I was a little worried about temperature there. Okay.
Maybe take a urine sample. Maybe do something. I don't know. A CB7, CBC, lights, a Chem 7. Sorry, I've been rewatching ER, so I have all this medical crap in my head.
Yeah.
They literally say for every patient that gets rolled into their trauma room, I need a CBC, a Chem 7, and an X-ray almost every single time.
Maybe they should shorten that and be like, I need a.
These are all real things. We have these tests at the hospital that I work at,
and apparently they're good ones to run and to get a lot of data, Anyway, that's the show.
That's been our wide receivers. Next week, we will be recording the tight ends. There hopefully isn't any groundbreaking news, so that Chris doesn't have to jump in and be like, "Hey, everybody, this is Chris, and I am the Garth to Josh's Wayne or something." And apparently, football has been canceled because we're in World War III. Hopefully, that doesn't happen. I should not
chuckle so hard at that. That was a good one, though.
Hopefully, that doesn't happen because not. Eastern Europe, yikes. Anyways,
levity, right? Levity.
That's why we got fantasy football to distract yourself and ourselves from the problems of the terrible, terrible world that we live in.
It's not as terrible as you think. You should probably come visit us and hang out with the girls. They're a riot, dude. They'll bring your mood right up. And you know what else will? A darn good dog.
I have one. She's right there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm a big fan.
Y'all have a good night and or day, morning perhaps. Maybe you're listening, watching in the morning. Anyways, if you're checking us out on YouTube, please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment for For Pete's sake, leave a freaking comment so I can stop hearing Chris whine about people. Be like, well, they never leave a comment and blah blah blah.
I'm lonely. I am
And
very
I'm
lonely.
like, well, like I've tried leaving comments in our YouTube videos, and you always sniff out that it's actually me in disguise, in a digital disguise, that is, at least. But you can also check us out on YouTube or podcast format. If you're on the go and you don't have time to watch or look at the two of our
Faces.
well, at least my ugly mug. I'm not going to say anything about Chris, but I don't want to put him down, but I'll definitely put myself down.
You should stop.
Bye.
See you next week, everybody.